What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel. Just want to give a shout out to the rest of the crew. I'm talking about Shy, Kelvin, and Jermaine, along with Kobe Bryant Film Room and Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right, that's right. And if everyone is tuning in, I hope that you support Behind the Bench, become a subscriber, and help make the show the best that it can be. And over the past day, we have inherited close to 100 more subscribers. It feels like it's overnight. So we really appreciate everybody who take the time to listen to our videos. And we try to be as authentic as possible. We all try to give our unique take on sports, but from an objective point of view. And as we like to say, it is what it is. Or as they say, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It's nothing but a duck quacking in their room. Bottom line. But this is something I want to talk about real quick, man. I just came across some comments today where you got some basketball fans of today. And I'm telling you, I've never seen a situation where in today's media, we have access to information like we've never had before. When I came up, the main source of information was either, magazine, book, going to the library. They had a feature called microfilm where you can, they had like news articles from like decades ago where if you wanted to research on the subject, you pull up what they call microfilm and you can locate a specific article based on, author's name, subject, title, to pull up the article that you're looking for. Was it time consuming? It depends on how you look at it. I thought it was fun. But I would say when it came to sports, the main source was like, sports publications, like basketball publications or whatnot, weekly, monthly publications, and a newspaper, right? But with the internet, I mean, you can pull up information at the drop of a hat, like within a split second. And that's what's so scary about this, man, where these talking heads that's on these sports programs, when it comes to Michael Jordan, right? The guy, man, who helped take basketball and expand it to a global audience. Particularly by the time that he won his second NBA championship and participated on the Dream Team, in the original Dream Team for the 92 Summer Olympics in Barcelona, Spain. He and Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and, everyone who represented Team USA, they helped take basketball and expand it to a global audience. That's a beautiful thing. I never thought, I thought when Michael Jordan retired, now, of course, the question is always there when it comes to a transcendent athlete like him, where you ask yourself, can anybody come along down the pike that can be better than him? I remember when Michael Jordan retired in '93, his first retirement, he gave his press conference with the media and whatnot. And that press conference was close to an hour. And he was asked the question, do you think somebody will come along better than you? And see, what I love about Jordan is, I believe Michael Jordan is secure what he achieved, everything that he achieved in the NBA. He didn't come across, this is very important, I think younger fans should understand. He didn't come across in a way where he ever felt that he was bigger than the game. Even though he was who he was, right? The most popular I don't even want to say famous, the most popular, admired professional athlete across the globe, right? And it takes a special individual to be able to understand your place in the world, understand your place in society. And he had a very good understanding of who he was as a player and as a person, right? So when he gave his press conference, he said, sure, someone will come along. They would have to put in the same work that he put in and players of the past put in. He had no problem saying that. But the question is, see, you can't force the issue. See, people got to realize, and I'm going to discuss and go over what I want to talk about in this video. People got to realize they was looking for the next Michael Jordan before he retired the first time. Let me repeat that. They was looking for the next Michael Jordan while he was still playing. That's how much of an impact he was to the game of basketball, because he brought all the great elements, all the great intangibles, to where, contrary to what certain ex-players may say about him now, whereas they talk differently then in the heat of battle in real time. They know how hard Michael Jordan had to work to reach the mountaintop of basketball. Right? So when he won his first NBA championship in 1991, he was celebrated by the entire country. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It wasn't like some marketing push. It had nothing to do with that. People understood and recalled how hard he had to work to win that first championship. All the battles that he had to go through with the Detroit Pistons, which was his main nemesis, and other playoff foes, the New York Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Boston Celtics starting out, whatnot. It was like his very first year. Think about this. Think about this. A lot of fans today, because of the negative and toxic influence of the voices that have these major platforms now, to show you how great Jordan was without them even realizing it, why they try to tear him down. So they expect a second-year player on an upstart team to defeat what proved to be one of the top 3 greatest single-season champions of all time in the Boston Celtics. See, they're actually stating his case when they think they're trying to tear him down, when you apply logic to the situation. Because if that was anybody else, they would have said, oh man, they're not going to beat Boston. They don't have a chance. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it was someone from today, and you put them in that same situation in a second year on the upstart team going against the 86 Celtics, who went 67-15, lost one game at home all year by a grand total of 2 points in double overtime. Right? Nobody's beating that team. Nobody. This gets me to what I want to talk about, because I'm seeing a lot of fans say, and it's because of the negative influence. See, the fans that are coming up today, they really don't understand how much they're being misled. We didn't have that problem coming up. They let the competition They let the determining factor be half center stage to see who's best. That was the beauty of it back then. Now, did people have their favorites? Sure they did. Here go a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Tommy Heinsohn, legendary player for the Boston Celtics. Played with Bill Russell during the 60s, doing all the, when they won like the 8 championships in a row, right? When he was doing play-by-play for the Celtics in the 80s, now mind you, he's a Celtic. He bleeds Celtic green, as he always said about himself. When they played the Lakers in those finals, because the Celtics and the Lakers faced each other 3 times in the 80s, 1984, 1985, 1987. When the Lakers were outplaying the Celtics, he showed no favoritism. He showed no favoritism. And you had to respect that. So when the Lakers finally beat the Celtics for the first time in the NBA championship series, the Boston faithful, the crowd in Boston Garden, along with Tommy Heinsohn, they gave the Lakers a standing ovation. That was such a class move, man. You see, that's what makes you respect a tradition like the Boston Celtics. You see what I'm saying? Even though you're not a fan of Boston, even though if you're a fan of the Lakers, when they show that appreciation for something like that, man, that's what made the NBA great. So what I'm saying is, they didn't try to sway public opinion. It was what it was. And they set the stage beautifully. They let you know what was at stake when the two Titans met up, or whoever met up for the world championship. So it's very frustrating when you hear fans say, when it comes to Michael Jordan's championships, they'll say he was favored in every one. Right? But all they have to do is research, and they will find out that they're being misled. Let's go back. Let's pull back the tape, as they say. The very first finals appearance for the Chicago Bulls in 1991, going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, who just upset the best team in the league that year. The 63-19 Portland Trail Blazers, who had the best record in the league, who had the deepest roster in the league, who had the most talented team in the NBA, and had at least one of the top, for that year, one of the top 5 players in the world in Clyde Drexler. And that Laker team that the Bulls beat upset Portland in the Western Conference Finals and beat them 4-2. Right? And that was one of the reasons why it wasn't the Bulls that were favored to win the series, the NBA Finals. It was the Lakers. Because of their overall experience, because of the fact that Magic Johnson, the best point guard in the game, many consider to be a Mount Rushmore player, right? Won 5 championships in the 80s. Led the team of the decade, Showtime Lakers. He had all that pedigree, right? And because of that, the Lakers were favored to beat the Bulls in the 91 finals. Let's go to 1992. The much anticipated matchup between Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. Michael Jordan won his 2nd consecutive league MVP. The runner-up was Clyde, who was called the Michael Jordan of the West. That's what Clyde was called. By the time they met up in the finals, now mind you, from 1990 until 1992, Portland had, by many accounts, the best, most talented, deepest team in the league. In 1990, they advanced to the finals and lost to the Detroit Pistons. A lot of people said that Portland was going to win this series, right? They won 59 games that year. In 91, they won 63 games. And in 92, they won 57 games. So going into that series, even though the Bulls had the better record, the odds were practically even by the time tip-off started for game one of those finals. Because Portland did have the deeper roster between the two squads. They had a deeper team than the Chicago Bulls did. Even though the Chicago Bulls were the defending champions. Even though they had Michael Jordan. Even though Scottie Pippen had up until that point the best season of his career. That was his fifth season, and that was the first season where he averaged 20 points a game or more. I believe he averaged something like 21 points a game, 22 points a game that year. Well, Clyde, then you had Terry Porter, who averaged like close to 20 points a game. Then they had sixth man of the year, Cliff Robinson. They had one of the best power forwards in the game, especially as far as rebounding and defense, in Buck Williams. They had a deeper team. They had Jerome Kersey on the wing, too. Jerome Kersey was an outstanding player. So the odds were even, and it was Michael Jordan's greatness that set the tone for that series. Right out the gate, when he scored 35 points in the first half alone, and those incredible 6 3-pointers when he did the famous shrug. Right? Okay. Let's go to 1993. They faced the Phoenix Suns, who advanced to their first ever NBA Finals. They was led by the league MVP for that year, Charles Barkley. They won more games than the Chicago Bulls that year. They was 62-20. They had the most explosive offense in basketball. They was one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league with the likes of Dan Marley, right? Now, the Bulls had the experience at that point, but there was questions as to whether they can pull it off. Now think about it, they was going for a three-peat. And the last team to three-peat or win 3 straight was the 60 Celtics. So really the odds were against the Bulls. The odds were against the Bulls. Phoenix had home court. And the Bulls went in Phoenix and won the first 2 games on the road, went up 2-0. And then in game 3, you had one of the greatest NBA final games ever, led by Kevin Johnson, of all people. A game that went to 3 overtimes. And Kevin Johnson played every single minute of that game. And Phoenix Suns won that game to cut the deficit of the series 2-1. And then Jordan erupted in game 4 and bust 55 to take a commanding 3-1 lead. Phoenix wins game 5, forces the series back to Phoenix, right? And then in amazing fashion in the fourth quarter, I believe Michael Jordan scored all their points until John Paxson hit that 3-point shot. And that was not a set play for John Paxson. The play was called for Jordan. And it wound up in Paxson's hand because of the way they defended Jordan when he was trying to cut to the basket. He passed to Pippen. Pippen kicks it down low to Grant, swings it around, and then he kicks it out to Paxson for the game-winning shot. But Michael Jordan set the tone for that. So when you think about it, the odds were really stacked against Chicago. Because that's why Charles Barkley said after they beat the Bulls in Game 5, we're a team of destiny. Because you're going back to Phoenix, and you thinking in your head, okay, they lost the first 2 games at home, so chances are Phoenix was going. Matter of fact, Phoenix was winning that Game 6 until about the last 2 minutes, and then Michael Jordan worked his magic. Right? So what I'm saying is, if you really look at it, even when the Bulls were favored, when you see the outcome of the series, it wasn't like they were blowing the teams out. It came down to the greatness of that dude down the stretch of these games. Right? Now, he got contributions from Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was a vital contributor to those teams. And he got other contributions. But I'm talking about the games where, like, they had to have it to where the Bulls wound up taking control of the series at any particular juncture. Michael Jordan got it done. It was always Jordan who got it done. No matter what these pundits say. Right? When you have someone out there, man, they really honor and respect the history of the game. And I wasn't a fan of the Chicago Bulls, but I'm trying to express and convey how things played out. Verbatim. Okay. So let's go to the fourth finals appearance versus the Seattle Sonics, right? That's when the Bulls, 95-96 Bulls, they first team ever to win 70 games. They finished the regular season with 72 wins, and they rolled through the playoffs with advanced to the finals, going against the Seattle Sonics, who had the second best record in the league that year. They won 64 games themselves. Those were the two top defensive teams going at each other. That's why the shooting percentage was so low. When they say, well, Jordan only shot 40-some%, well, he was going against a stud. And Gary Payton. The Sonics had like the second best defense in the league behind the Bulls. So you knew the series was going to be tough in terms of offense. You see what I'm saying? And then people forget that the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals round faced the 60-22 Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic had the best starting five in the league. They had the combo of Shaq and Penny, right? Then they had a three-point specialist in D. Scott. Then you had a great two-guard in Nick Anderson. And then you had Horace Grant, who got championship experience. And the Bulls had to play elite defense to beat Orlando. You see? So because of that, the energy expended facing Orlando, that's one of the contributing factors as to why they always focus on Jordan's shooting percentage, but Pippen's shooting percentage was just as low. Because of the energy they had to exert on defense to beat the Orlando Magic and to beat the Seattle Sonics, right? Now, the Bulls were favored in this series because of the season that they had, you know what I'm saying? And they wound up winning that championship. That was Jordan's fourth title, right? Okay. So next year, okay, they faced the Utah Jazz, who was playing in their first ever finals, but they had Karl Malone and John Stockton, one of the two greatest players of the era, one of the best power forwards of all time, one of the best point guards of all time, right? They won 64 games that year. They beat the Houston Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. They beat Barkley. They beat Olajuwon. They beat Drexler to get to the finals. So Utah had to be darn good to get there, right? Okay, the Bulls were favored in that finals. But people forget that series was tied after 4 games. The Bulls won the first 2 games at home, right? And Utah tied the series up at the Delta Center. And then that game 5, that was the when Jordan really showed you his will to win was second to none. The game where it was dubbed the flu game, right? Where he really shouldn't have no business playing that game. But if he had not played, the Bulls would have lost and went back to Chicago down 3-2, and maybe Utah closes it out. But because of his sure will and determination and his refusal to lose, that arguably could have been his greatest game. Arguably. And it's been a lot of them. An improbable win, and they go back to Chicago up 3-2, and they close it out in grand fashion in Game 6 in a highly contested game where, in the end, They double team Jordan. He passes it to a cutting Steve Kerr, and he pulls up and hit like a 15-footer from the free throw line to put the Bulls up by, I believe that was 4 points. No, 2 points. And then Scottie Pippen got a steal off an inbounds pass to Kukoc to seal that championship. But if it wasn't for Jordan performing the way he did in that game 5, see, he always set the tone, man, where the game where they absolutely had to have it, that's when he played his absolute greatest, to where the team could relax. See, the pressure wasn't put on the Pippins or the Kerrs or the Kukocs. See, he eliminated all of that to where they can play their role. You see? Okay, so let's go to the last finals and I'll shut this down. The rematch versus Utah. Fans will say, well, he was favoring all the finals. No, he wasn't. And I just went down the list. Lakers were favored in 91. The odds were even in 92. The Bulls were favored because of experience per se in 93. But at the same time, the odds were stacked against them because we hadn't seen a team win 3 straight championships since the Boston Celtics did in the 60s. The attrition started to kick in because they had just won back-to-back championships. And then Jordan and Pippen competed in the Olympics. So the record for the 93 season, they lost 10 more games than they did in the 92 season. So it was kind of like they were vulnerable, and Phoenix had the better offense, but when Jordan averages 41 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists for a series, and is shooting darn near 40% from 3, well, that's why I say his will was second to none. It was second to none. Okay. So last finals versus Utah, the Jazz, both teams finished the regular season with 62 wins. The Jazz beat the Bulls both contests in the regular season. As a result, the Bulls got older that year, right? The attrition started to kick in, going for their 3rd straight title, their 2nd straight three-peat. Well, their 2nd three-peat, I should say. Utah was better, and going into this series, they felt they was better equipped and better prepared to defeat the Bulls, right? Utah was favored to win the series. That's what I'm trying to say. Anybody can look it up. Game 1, Utah won. They won that game 1, and they won it pretty. I think they won by like double figures almost. Game 2, they started off strong, and some kind of way the Bulls figured out a way to win game 2. And Tony Kukoc in that game, he probably had the best game, his best game of all the championship series that he competed in. That's probably his best game because he did hit some big shots in that game down the stretch. So they tied the series 1-1 going back to Chicago. Then the Bulls played lockdown defense to win game 3 and 4. The Bulls went up 3-1 in improbable fashion. And then Karl Malone in game 5, he had his best game in the series. I think he had like 38, 39 points. And he forced a game 6 in Utah. And as they say, the rest is history, where Jordan literally snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Stole that ball from Malone, and then on offense, he hit that game-winning shot where he posed, you know what I'm saying? And then the Bulls made their last defensive stop, and they won their 6th championship. See, that's the thing, man. And see, because of the need to try to compare a certain guy to this guy, to Jordan, the history has to be distorted. And you can't do that because all the information is out there to find out the facts and the truth. And then you can always look at the game. You can pull it up online and look at them games. And you can just watch Jordan's greatness for what it is. And this is not to knock Scottie Pippen, because he was the best number 2 player in the world. He was the best number 2 player playing alongside Michael Jordan. And in the Bulls, everybody for the most part, you know what I'm saying? Throughout the course of the regular season, I'll say, they played a role. But the fact of the matter is, I just want to do a breakdown. I really wasn't planning on doing this, but I was like, man, you know, I be seeing these cats out here, man, and it's like they're being misled. See, and all they got to do is research. That's it. It's very simple, step-by-step process. It don't take a long time. You know what I'm saying? They said the truth is at your fingertips now. So the fact of the matter is, out of those 6 championships, out of those 6 finals appearances, from those 6 opponents that he faced, 2 times his team was the bona fide underdog, and the 3rd time, the odds were 50-50. You really, when it came to Chicago Bulls and Portland Trailblazers, you really didn't know who was going to win. You had no idea who was going to win that series. And that was the beauty of basketball then, man. You know, and that's why I say, you know, they'll say, well, the competition is greater today. And I'm not trying, like when I look at what the Denver Nuggets did, I love what Denver did. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the super team era, for the most part, is devalued competition. When superstars join forces, it appears that the competition is greater because superstars are playing with each other. But in all actuality, the degree of difficulty back then was greater because in the 90s, you had like Pippen wasn't considered really a superstar until after the Dream Team, but he was still the number 2 guy. I'm talking about like your superstars, the Jordans, the Barkleys, people like that. So when they went against each other, it came down to which superstar was going to play the better between the two and lead their team to the promised land. So the degree of difficulty was actually greater. And as a result, you had to lead your team in a way where everybody step up their level of play. And that was the beauty of it back then. So I just want to do a thorough breakdown on that. Fact over fiction, as they say. And anybody can look it up for themselves. When it comes down to, no matter what they try to do, no matter how they try to slice it, when the smoke clear, the man won 6 championships, and he arguably he left 2 on the table when he went to go play baseball. You know, now the '95 Houston Rocket team, Akeem Olajuwon was playing so great to where if that Houston Rocket team had ever faced the Bulls team with Michael Jordan, that series, out of respect to what Houston did that year in that postseason, I'm going to say this series is going 7 games. No question about it. It's going 7 games. But when it come down to it, man, Michael Jordan did not lose in championship play. Olympic competition, not necessarily the dream team, but when he competed in the '84 Olympics in LA, when it was mainly college players about ready to enter the pros, you know, and he led that team to the gold medal. The last representative Team USA that featured college players that won, that was in 1984, and Jordan was on that team. He didn't lose in FIBA basketball, and he didn't lose in no NBA finals. So if you want to put your money on somebody, man, who's going to get it done, he's proven that. I mean, it is what it is, man. You cannot downgrade the competition, because think about it. 20 years from now, what if people start trying to downgrade the competition of the current era? So you can't do that. You got to go by what that player did when they played. That's how you do it. And he did it better than anybody else when he played. Simple as that. So I just want to drop that nugget. And And this is JB. This is JB for BTB. BTB behind the bench.